All right. Butter lamps. Oh, that's going to be a lot. Let's do the small ones. Dharma books. Let's do Dharma books. I like that. That's fun. Easy and fun. Yeah, can I have that? Thanks. Thank you. Everything's got a barcode on it. It's like, it's so organized. Oh. Can I, all right, never mind, no. Okay, Dharma books. Buddha's body, speech, and mind in its ultimate nature means cannot be seen, perceived, touched, or tasted unless you're a Buddha yourself. But Buddha's body, speech, and mind can manifest in a perceptible form depending on your level. When it is manifesting as a enjoyment body, a Sambhogakaya body, it can be perceived by other Sambhogakaya level beings. Sambhogakaya. And then, for all beings who are not Sambhogakaya and above, that form cannot be perceived. So they have to emanate in the form of a Nirmanakaya. Nirmanakaya, or in Tibetan, Truku. So when they appear in a Nirmanakaya form, most likely they're in a gross form with the 5 aggregates, or a gross form that doesn't have to be the 5 aggregates, but a gross tangible form perceptible with our 5 aggregates. All right? So the body, speech, and mind of Buddha can emanate on their own, can join up. So Buddha's speech can emanate as a being to teach. It doesn't need his body to emanate. His body, speech, and mind are one and the same, inseparable. It's an enlightened mind. So therefore, on our altar or for our daily worship, it's very, very hard to visualize nothing, to have an empty room and just say Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is there. You can, theoretically, you can have an empty temple and nothing there and say Buddha is everywhere, Dharma is everywhere, Sangha is everywhere, which is the truth. It is the ultimate truth. But for normal beings like us, it's very hard to consistently visualize. Why? This fella might walk in and visualize the Buddha in that corner. Jivana walk in and visualize the Buddha right there. And then, Mr. Accountant here will walk and visualize the Buddha there. So if Andy sits here, he screams. If Bloop Bloop sits over there, he screams. So everybody's visualization's everywhere and nowhere. So it's like, you can't sit there because I visualized Buddha there. You're like, oh God, you're just getting revenge on me because I didn't give you my lunch. And it gets very mixed up. So the reason Buddhists make images of Buddhas is not to be an idolater. It is to give a set form, position, and definition of an enlightened being, so that it's easy for us to generate merits and have a relationship with an enlightened being. And therefore, we have statues and we keep altars to have this relationship and connection every day with an enlightened being. So Buddha's body, as I mentioned many times before, comes very simply in a form of a Buddha image. It could be a tanka, a painting, a drawing. It can be also a statue, an image. And it says in the sutras very clearly that by the virtue of Buddha's own attainments, even a simple line drawing of the Buddha in anger, and we look at it with no faith, we still plant the seeds to see Buddha in reality in the future. Why? Not by the perceiver, by the object's power. Why? By the percentage. So if a line drawing as simple as that, and someone who doesn't know and even angry looks at it, it plants seeds. That's why Buddhists have a system of making big statues, many statues, images in caves, like in Afghanistan, and big images and big Buddha statues and everywhere. Why? Even seeing a Buddha image plants the seeds of us to become enlightened. And hence in the Chinese Mahayana tradition, you have beautiful Kuan Yins on big hills, like in Penang. Why? So that it can bless the whole environment, so that whoever sees Kuan Yin, an imprint of compassion can be put in their mind. So in Buddhist practice, we try to make the statues as big as possible, as many as possible, as ornate as possible, and as beautiful and expensive as possible. Why? There are many reasons, but one of the reasons is to see an enlightened form. Changes the environment, changes the psycho-pseudo environment within us. It changes the karmic environment. It clears the feng shui of the area. It dispels negativities, and it plants seeds of enlightenment in our mind. Even to have a Buddha in our garden helps insects who who are sentient beings to plant the Buddha nature in their mind. I'm sorry, to plant the Buddha seed in their mind for the future. It's very, very powerful. And when we ornament and offer beautiful things, we're not offering beautiful things to the statue. We are offering it to the enlightened body which we wish to achieve. So Buddha's body manifests as a Buddha image that we make, as beautiful as possible, as iconographically correct as possible. That's why I'm very particular about Buddha statues. I don't like just any simple statue. I'll look at it to make sure the implements, the hand, the body is perfect, wonderful. Why? Because it's not an art object to me. Every single part of that body represents a stage and a path to full enlightenment. So when I go Buddha statue shopping in Kathmandu, I'm very particular. And I will spend more money and I will be extravagant on it. Why? Because to me, it's not an art object. It is not something just beautiful. It is something that when it's iconographically correct and consecrated, when everybody sees it, it will plant enlightenment in their mind. And that is why I'm very particular for statues, very particular for tankas, and I don't simply just like this and this. And I'd rather spend more money and not have money on something expensive and nice than a cheapskate little thing that's been crudely done that doesn't convey anything to anyone. Why? The blessings are very powerful. And for many beings, that's all they'll ever see is just a Buddha image. That's all they'll ever see. So Buddha's holy body will be represented by a statue or a painting or a tanka. Buddha's holy speech will be represented by the Buddha texts. Buddha's holy mind is represented by a stupa. There are seven types of stupas, 7 different shapes that's accepted. 7 or 8, I forgot. I think it should be 7. 7 different types of shapes of stupas that's accepted. This is called a Kadam stupa. This shape, its relevance, its size, and its steps represents the steps to enlightenment. So when you look at a stupa, if you understand its symbolism, it represents the total enlightened mind of a Buddha. And you fill it with very holy items such as your guru's hair, your guru's clothes, things from saints, Buddha images, chakras. You fill it up and you keep it on your altar. Why? When you have this on your altar and you make offerings every day, you are making offerings directly to the Buddha mind. The result, purification of one's negative mind and the abilities being accrued to attain the Buddha mind. And then when you have holy items inside, such as your gurus, because with guru devotion, without guru devotion, there is no enlightenment, none. So with your guru's holy item inside, what you're trying to say is your guru and the Buddha's mind are one. Why? The Buddha's statue and tankas don't teach you Dharma. It is your guru that teaches you Dharma. For your level at this stage, your guru is your Buddha. When you disrespect your guru, you disrespect the Buddha. Why? Whether he's a Buddha or not doesn't make a difference. He is kinder to the Buddha to you than the Buddha himself at this moment because he gives you the steps to enlightenment. So in the tantric system, the guru is the object of offering, such as the guru puja we do, is the object of offering. So therefore, when we put the guru's reliquary inside something holy and we put it on our altar, it represents, on the very basic level, remembering the kindness of where we get our Dharma from. And at the same time, that the Guru gives us the Dharma for us to achieve the enlightened mind. Simultaneously, if we have correct view that our Guru is Buddha, our attainments will be faster. No one can get any attainments if they don't think their Guru is a Buddha. No one. I don't care how advanced you are in practice. You can check this out in the Dharma. I read this just yesterday in Hiruka Vajrasattva commentary by Lama Yeshe. Just yesterday I read this. If you don't think your Guru is a Buddha, you will never gain attainments. As simple as that. That's from Lama Yeshe. You can read that in Hiruka Vajrasattva. So therefore, believing your Guru is a Buddha or not has no significance for your Guru. It has significance for you because then how you act, how he influences you, how he can bless you, how he can change your lives will be dependent on your attitude towards your Guru. So if your attitude is flippant, silly, disrespectful, breaking promises and samayas, that will be the result of your practice and your life. If your attitude is very lame, very I don't care, and choosy and selective about what you want to do according to your Guru's instructions, then that will be the result of your practice. If you take your Guru's instructions like it's the word of law, and you do your practices and you keep your samayas well, you will see transformation from your mind. Why? A Guru will only teach you Dharma. All the methods of a Guru will to bring you to the state of enlightenment. So if you follow and surrender, what are you surrendering to? To the Guru? No, you're surrendering to the Dharma. So if you're flippant, selective, callous, uncareful, and always moody with your Guru, that will be your attainments. Be exactly the same thing. If you're careful, if you're respectful, if you're straightforward, and you listen, then what do you get the benefits from? The benefits doesn't come that you believe your guru is a Buddha. You actually surrender to the words of your guru and the Dharma that he is imparting to you. And when you follow that, you become a Buddha. Therefore, in our visualizations of pure view, when a Buddha speaks the guru, when the guru speaks the Buddha teachings to you, doesn't the speaker have to be a Buddha? So therefore, if we visualize the speaker as a Buddha, the speech as the Dharma, then attainments will arise. Why? We change our view. We change our view completely. What's the difference if you visualize a statue to be the Buddha or your guru? They're made of the same compositional factors: earth, air, water, and fire. One can speak, one cannot. One teaches, one cannot. So we are not at the level where we can see all enlightened beings. So we're dependent on a knowledgeable, compassionate, skillful guru who can impart the teachings to us. So in our visualizations now, the very basic fundamental teachings, the very basic fundamental step is to visualize our guru as a Buddha with and without his faults. Why? It trains us to not look at other people's faults. It trains us to blot out and not focus on faults and good qualities. That is the first step. So the guru uses himself for you to train in seeing positive things immediately. So the most important thing of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind, the most important is the speech. It is not the body that brings you to enlightenment, although it can be a cause. It is not his mind that brings you to enlightenment. It is his speech. So out of the body, speech, and mind, out of the three, the most holy and the most sacred is the speech. And speech represented in our plane is the Dharma texts. So therefore, the Dharma texts are more holy than the Buddha statues. The Dharma texts are more sacred than the Buddha statues. And the Dharma texts are more valuable. If you were to be in a house if your house was burning down and you had to grab either the Buddha statue or a Dharma text, you would probably if you're smart, you grab the Dharma text. Therefore, in Tibet, many high lamas and many high beings who were escaping Tibet, they didn't grab their statues, although it was very precious. Some even spoke. They grabbed the Dharma text and escaped Tibet. Why? The Dharma text is what can bring you to enlightenment. Why? The Dharma text is a manual to full enlightenment. Full enlightenment. Example, this is the commentary on Vajrayani's path. This is a complete commentary on Vajrayani. This is not the sadhana. This is not the sadhana. The sadhana is a complete meditational manual on Vajrayani, how to become enlightened according to her tradition. This is an explanation on her rituals and practices. So this explanation on rituals and practices of Vajrayani explains how to do the actual manual. So this is very holy. This is more holy than the Vajrayani statue. Why? If you don't have this, you just have the statue, you make offerings and puja, that collects a little bit of merit. But if you have the text and you actually meditate on it, you become enlightened. So what's more holy? What's more holy if you have one car or you have the secret manual on how to make another 100,000 cars? Of course, the secret manual. So what's better, to have a Buddha statue or the manual to become a Buddha yourself? What's better, to have a Vajrayani statue if you had to have a choice, or the actual manual to become Vajrayogini? Of course, the Dharma text. So Dharma texts are extremely sacred and very, very holy. And when we don't know their value and we just throw it around and put it here and we're callous with it, it's very bad. In fact, sponsoring Dharma texts is considered even more holy than statues. But you see, you have to see what level you're at. If you're in a village and you sponsor books, it doesn't help. If you're in a village, you sponsor big Buddha statues, it's more beneficial for them. Ultimately, it is Dharma text, not statues. Ultimately, that brings more benefit. Ultimately. Because if the Buddha appeared on this planet and never ever spoke, who will be enlightened? So think Shakyamuni shows up, lives 81 years, he doesn't say one word. Everybody makes prostrations, makes the statues and prostrates, makes offerings, and that's it. He doesn't say one word. Who will be enlightened? Nobody. Imagine your guru shows up. You know, His Holiness Dalai Lama shows up. He just looks at you. We have tea. He doesn't teach you anything. What happens? Yes, he's holy. You make offerings. You offer kata. He touches you, blesses you. But if he doesn't speak, what the heck are we going to do? Nothing. We go back home exactly the same, with a little bit of blessing of enlightenment planted in our head because he's so holy. But if we go see Dalai Lama, he doesn't give us teachings. What's the point? We go see our guru. So what do we go to our guru for? We go to our gurus to watch him, to learn the Dharma, to listen to the Dharma from him. When we go to the Guru to learn and listen to the Dharma, over 1 year, 2 years, you'll see yourself transform. If you go to your Guru for money, for power, for prestige, for fun, for games, for frivolity, then after 1 year, you get nowhere. So when a person stays near a Guru, how much they transform, you will see is the motivation of why they're near the Guru. If a person stays near the Guru 1 year, 6 months, and you see them transform, they become no lazy, they become alert, they transform, they change, then their motivation to be near their Guru is Dharma. If a person stays near the Guru and is very close, they don't transform, they don't change, they get lazier, they take advantage, they're parasites, then they're using the Guru. So how they stay near the Guru shows you their motivation. So some people stay near the Guru and they become smarter and smarter, their minds transform, they become better and better and better, and they become more patient with their sisters and brothers, they become more patient with their husbands and wives, they become more patient with their children, they become more patient with society. So because they've been hanging around their Guru, and they become more patient and more kinder and more easier going, it means their motivation to be near their Guru is Dharma. If they hang around their Guru and they get house, they get car, they get material things, they get things easier, they get food and everything, they get a job, it means their reason to be near the Guru is material. So when we hang around the Guru and what we want is different. So what we want from the Guru, that's what we will get. But if it is something that's not Dharma, at the end of this life, our connection is finished. We don't get anywhere. So we can observe the people. Why? If it's the Guru, then everybody around him has to be stupid. If it's the Guru, then everybody around him has to be enlightened. So if you blame the Guru, and it's his fault that certain students are like this, like this, like this, and like this, then all the students must be exactly the same. If it's not the Guru's fault, then therefore you see differences in students. Why? Some are advanced, some are changing, some are more dedicated, some are more sacrificial, some are lazier, some are users, some don't want to do anything, some just hang around and have fun. Why? If there's a difference in the students, that means it's not the Guru, it is the student's motivation. If there is no difference in the student, all are stupid, and the Guru is there, then it's the Guru's fault. So we can use logic to check each person who hangs around and stays near the Guru and how they transform. Very, very simple. So why do we hang around the Guru? To receive the Dharma. So if the Guru is giving you Dharma and you feel sleepy, you feel bored, you don't feel excited, you don't want to learn, you're not near your Guru for the Dharma. You're near for other reasons. Other reasons. If you're excited to get the Dharma and you're alert and you're very enthusiastic, it means you're using the Guru for the right thing. The only reason we'll be near our Guru is by body, speech, and mind, by example, direct and indirect, we receive the Dharma. And for those who stay away from the Guru and avoid the Guru, we must check our personal practices. Are we gaining attainments? Are we getting better? It's very, very important. We have to check all the time. So the only reason we're near the Guru is the Dharma. The Dharma is represented by scriptures. It can be in this form, in Tibetan. It can be in modern form. It doesn't matter. This and this is exactly the same. So because the highest function of a Buddha, the best action of a Guru, is one that teaches. The highest function out of all the deeds of an enlightened being, the most sacred deed of an enlightened being is to teach. Out of the many activities of the Guru, the most important activity is to teach. Therefore, it gives you the sign, the indication that Dharma is the most holy. So since Dharma is the most holy, where is Dharma? Dharma is everywhere and nowhere. But for us, it must be in written form. This written form of Dharma represents the enlightened mind in speech. So if we follow this manual and we follow it meticulously and well, it will bring us to enlightenment. So if we are so careful with the Buddha statue, Chinese are very careful with Buddha statues. Westerners are very careful with cathedrals and churches and crosses. They hold it very sacred. If you look at the Catholics, for example, their cathedrals are beautiful. The crucifixes and Jesus Christ and Mother Mary and the saints are beautiful. Why are they beautiful? Because it's an expression of their respect for the holy. Respect. If you go to Hindu temples, it is so beautifully carved and ornate, inside out, and they offer the best. Why? It is their respect of the holy and the high. So similarly, for Chinese, you take Tape Gong home, you take a Guanti or Guanggong, whatever. You're very careful. You must select the date. You must get the right sifu. You must put it in the right direction, the right height, the right statue. Everything must be perfect, or one thing wrong. Right? Why? That's respect of the sacred. So even with Buddha statues, we're very careful where to put it. It's very clean. It's very nice. We must offer beautiful things on it, gold and silver and jewelry. You know what? We've been neglecting even something more holier, Dharma texts. Dharma texts are even more sacred than Buddha statues. And hence, in Tibet, the spoken teachings of the Buddha called Kangyur, 108 volumes. Every temple that calls themselves a temple must have that. It costs about 45,000 ringgits. Can be ordered from Delhi. Any respectable temple must have the complete teachings of the Buddha. It's called the Kangyur. And you know, for temples who have the money, they will actually write it in gold. The first page or the second page will be written in pure gold as an offering because it's Buddha's speech. I wanted to order the Kangyur a few years ago, but I have a few problems. One, I don't have 40,000. Two, I don't have a place to put it because it's 108 volumes. If I put the Kangyur inside Kachara house, I'm going to have to put myself on the roof and teach you through the roof. Hello? Oh yeah, and you know what you do with those teachings? Those are made for prostrations. Those are made for people to circumambulate. Why? You're circumambulating and prostrating to the teachings of the Buddha. And my wish was bringing it to KH is not to keep it in KH, is to be transferred to the retreat center, the Kangyur Chapel. Wow. The chapel of Buddha's holy speech. Those are the written speech of the Buddha. Where did they come from? 500 years after Buddha's parinirvana, there were still Mahasiddhas and Arhats left who had the perfect power of memory. Means whatever Buddha said, they can recite verbatim. Perfectly. That shouldn't be a surprise to you. Even today, we have people who have photographic memory. What? We have people who can verbatim, they can recite perfectly. So these great pundits and great scholars and great arhats got together and recited verbatim before it was lost. Everything that the Buddha told and taught and spoke. Everything in the 40 plus years of his career. And those were recorded down by scribes. And those are the Kangyur. Ka is mouth. Gyur is to speak or to say. It's the spoken words of Buddha. And those were meticulously translated for 300-400 years into Tibetan from the holy Sanskrit language. And it's been preserved now. It has not been translated into English yet. I wish it could be. Imagine if we can do that project, translate the whole Kangyur into English. Oh my God. Imagine Kachara Media and Publications is known throughout the world as translating Buddha's written speech. I'll be famous. I'll be a star. I'll be recognized. They'll finally put me on a golden throne, and maybe I'll get some money too. All right, I slipped. So you saw my motivation. What can I do? I can't keep hiding myself. You know, I'm not enlightened, so what can I do? Sometimes it slips. In any case, what are you laughing at? You want to slap? All right, now, the point is, Dharma texts are the most holy, and on our altars, we should have a Buddha image, any Buddha image, a Dharma text, and a stupa. It's the basics. And Dharma texts, because they're the manual to enlightenment, they represent enlightenment. And the Dharma texts themselves are enlightenment because they embody the enlightened result of a Buddha. Why? Something that's not enlightened cannot teach you to be enlightened. So they are enlightenment in word form. Enlightenment in word form, W-O-R-D. So therefore, when we have a Dharma text in English and Chinese and Tibetan, it doesn't matter. We should respect it very much. If we have a bookshelf, we should not mix our Dharma books with ordinary books. You know, we don't have a love novel, you know, Diana, Princess of Wales and her lovers, you know, and then we put, why I make myself unhappy up there. No. Our Dharma, if we have one bookshelf because we're a cheapskate or because we have a small room or whatever reasons we have, valid or invalid, if we have one bookshelf, the top one should be Dharma, the bottom one should be worldly. Why? We have to push ourselves to make something sacred, sacred. And that very respect for something sacred creates the karma for us to realize those texts. When we don't respect Dharma texts, we don't gain realizations. Hey, you know, this is a word for enlightenment, whatever lah. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. So it is said that before you start a Dharma text, out of respect, your hand should be clean. It should be separate from your worldly items. It should be separate from crappy stuff. It should be clean. When you receive it, you should take the Dharma text or whatever it is, bring it to your head and touch it first, and then clean, and then you open it, and you're supposed to read it or study it. And if you really want to be really prim and proper, you don't do that. You know, because it gets a little dry. So you don't use your dirty, grotesque saliva with amoebas and all that stuff to turn your Dharma texts. Can you imagine these holy Dharma? It's so holy, it's fabulous. You know, or, you don't do that. You wouldn't spit at the Buddha, would you? So what's the difference? So when you finish with the Dharma text, you touch it to your forehead, and you realize how sacred it is. and you put it back on the shelf or wherever. And to do that creates awareness for the sacred. It creates awareness for the sacred on the external, which leads to the internal. Leads to what? Awareness. So therefore, when you have holy Dharma texts, you should put it on a shelf that's clean. You should take pleasure in cleaning the shelves. You should take pleasure in cleaning the shelves, and you should take pleasure in the way it's stored and put away. And when you use it, you should be totally aware. You know, you don't just you dribble all over it. You put it here and just go to sleep. And you wake up. No. And then you don't put it with your arithmetic book, or you don't put it together with your Playboy book or whatever. You know what I mean? That's for you, lah. And anyways, you keep it separate. You know, you don't put, Harley Davidson 1995, vintage models with your stages and path to enlightenment. It's not proper. Why? You don't have respect for anything. You don't make a distinction between samsara and nirvana. You think, but he's going to say, well, I thought everything's empty. It is empty. You're empty. It is empty when you reach that level. When you're not that level, it is not empty. You're still on a gross level. So when you don't keep that separate, it's very, very bad. And in fact, Dharma books are a better object of offering to offer incense or whatever to. You'll see people with Dharma books, they offer the 5 sensory offerings to Dharma books. You think, but it's words. No, those words are Buddha. They're enlightenment. They're Buddha in the form of words. Dharma books are Buddha in the form of words. So they're very, very sacred. And hence, we offer gold and we offer beautiful brocade. You'll see Dharma covers, like beautiful brocade. People cover in beautiful brocade. Why? You offer brocade to the Buddhas. You offer brocade to the Buddhas. There's no difference. And then, hence, we have beautiful, beautiful cases that display the Dharma books, that display the Dharma text. And what we should do is, we should actually make them as beautiful as possible. We put silks inside, gold. We can put pearls. We can put turquoise. Why? You're offering to Buddha's speech. Buddha's speech is what brings you to enlightenment. So you have beautiful casings. You have beautiful casings. Why? On the outer level, you show the sacredness of the object, and you give teachings to other people how sacred it is. On the inner level, you're creating awareness. On a secret level, you're making offerings to an enlightened object, the speech of the Buddha. So the casing should be as beautiful as possible, should be as ornate as possible, should be as neat and clean as possible, and as expensive as possible. Why? This is not just a casing for a Dharma text. It is an offering to an enlightened speech of the Buddha. Any questions? Put here. Sponsoring Dharma texts today is one of the most virtuous acts, as has always been in Tibet or in India. Why? The only way the Dharma spreads is by knowledge. Knowledge can only be contained in books. Why? If you have the greatest teacher, how long can the teacher live? But the knowledge can live in books. So sponsoring books, or being a head of a department such as, for example, in our publishing department, being head of a publishing department, working in a publishing department, having the honor to write Dharma books, having the honor to write Dharma writings, having the honor to spread Dharma through writing is the most sacred work. If we profane it with the 8 worldly motives, it doesn't become sacred. For us, it's just work with no realization. In the past, the great writers, the great translators, we call them lotsawas, and the great masters who translate and who write, those writers and those masters, we actually paint tankas of them, make offerings, because we are in debt to them. When you write, listen carefully, when you write with no ulterior motivation of gain, fame, money, or material gains, if you write with none of that, and it's before you write, you invoke upon Lama Tsongkhapa, you invoke upon Manjushri, and the pure motivations that made this writing touch someone and change their lives. And there's no ulterior motivation, and we write. Our writing will be different, it will be inspired, and it will flow. And on top of that, when someone else reads it, no matter how basic it is, it will penetrate their heart. If it's written with an ulterior motive, or it's written with a mixed motive, the benefit will be mixed also. So therefore, if Dharma books are important, they're written by people. So don't you think that people must have the correct motivation? If the people or the person that write it doesn't have the correct motivation, then the effect of it will not be as powerful. So if we really believe in the Dharma and we really believe in helping people, we really, really love other people, everything to do with writing Dharma books, everything to do with writing articles or pamphlets, anything to do with descriptions of Buddhas, anything to do with writing Buddha that gets information out to help them to become enlightened, we will hold it sacred. We will hold the timetable sacred. We will jump at the opportunity if we have that gift. We will see it as a sacred art to bring enlightenment to others through writing. Only by writing and books and information can people become enlightened. Why? None of us have the power of a retentive memory. None of us have the power of retention of memory, means we don't forget what we heard. So therefore, we rely on books. If we rely on books and the author or the writer is tainted or without the right motivation, then it's very damaging. Why is it damaging? Why is it damaging? Because the information may be correct, but will not have that impact on that person. So someone will read the Lamrim and say, that's it? Why? Maybe this person wrote this Lamrim series to translate for money. I want money. I want to be rich. I want to use this organization. You know, like Snow Lion's rich. If I write for them, I'll get a lot of money. I'll be famous. I'll get my name will be all over the place. I'll use this to be famous and get money. Okay, and help people. If it's like that, then this sacred book, when people read it, it won't be as powerful because of the motivation of the writer. So if we don't want to do deep meditations and deep practices, and we're too lazy and we want to have fun, or we're just too fat, or we're just too stupid, whatever, we can gain tremendous merit. We can gain the most merit by writing Dharma more than other objects. I'll tell you why. We can gain more merit than making offerings, retreats at our level, meditations, mantras, if we write with the right motivation. I'll tell you why. The reason you do retreats, the reason you do offerings, the reason you do meditations is to transform your mind so you can benefit others. This one is direct benefit. Direct. So why make offerings? Why do mandalas? Why do all that? You know, and then say I dedicated that everybody will be fine. When we can write a book with good motivation, with no ulterior motivation, but from the heart and devotedly, and dedicate that to our mother. So when we write a beautiful Dharma book, and 10 books and dedicate it to our mother, 20 books and dedicate it to our mother, every person that reads that and their heart changes, the merit goes to our mother. What is more sacred? That's even more sacred than a Buddha statue. Do you know why? Buddha statues can't change people's hearts. A Dharma book can. Buddha statues directly cannot relieve people's sufferings. A book can. A Buddha statue cannot directly relieve people of ignorance and wrong practice that brings them to suffering. A Buddha book can. So people who write the Buddha book have the greatest opportunity to collect the most amount of merits. And therefore, if their motivation is to collect merits, there will be no ulterior motive. If there's an ulterior motive, then that benefit will be mitigated and minimized. And if they make it difficult for people, they don't put it on timeline, they don't finish on time, people have to chase them, and then they have negative thought, oh, I better finish it because they're chasing me. What's the point? If you're a writer of Dharma, if you have a Lama that teaches Dharma and you can write, or you yourself are a scholar and you can write and you can benefit people, do you know the kind of impact you can have throughout the world? Do you know that from the time of Lord Buddha to now, do you know what existed from Buddha till now is the teachings? Do you know how they existed? In book form. Do you know who wrote the books? The masters, the scholars, the writers. It is their kindness that we have this. So if we don't treat this department sacred, if we don't sponsor this department, if we don't make this department work, if we don't make the covers and the CDs and the packaging, everything as beautiful as possible to suit the modern person, how are we spreading Dharma? How far do you think we can spread the Dharma by making thousands of statues and just sending out? That's a helping process. But what's more important is Dharma books. And today, luckily, Dharma CDs. So when we make Dharma, if we support this department and we make this department grow, even posters, everything, because you have to understand, during Tibetan times, they don't have posters, they don't have CDs, they don't have computers, they don't have all this, they don't have color graphics. All they have is that long text, that's it. So how much can they do? Today we have so much more opportunity to spread the Dharma, so much more. Even a website is sacred because you're passing a sacred message. That's why I tell people who make websites, improve, learn, make it better, make it grow, make it attractive. Why? It's not an ego trip for me. is that when people see it, they'll be invited to look into the website and learn enlightenment. That's why. It's all related to Dharma teachings. So I've been telling people for months and years about this. Some people listen, some people don't. So even the website and what we write, and everything must be free of grammatical error. Why? You don't want to distract the seeker of enlightenment by grammatical errors. You don't want to. So when people see something wrong, they're like, oh, that's wrong, and then it distracts them. You don't want to do that. So your website should be clean and beautiful and perfect and beautifully done and matches. Why? Is people's attachment to form that initially gets them into something. If they come across a website, it looks nice, oh, I want to see that because it looks inviting. You attract them by samsaric form. So books should be packaged well and beautifully, not cheap, and done well. We should have money for this. We should raise funds to get Dharma books out of the best quality. Why? You are spreading Dharma. Do you know that when every single one of us die, this will still be around? Somebody will pick this up 100 years later, 200 years later, 300 years later, and read it and say, oh my God, it's changing my life. It might be even you coming back and reading and going, oh, and opening up a memory. Think, someone sponsored this so we can have this to become enlightened. Someone wrote this down. The person who wrote this down is His Holiness Tsem Rinpoche. Trijang Dorji Chang attended Pabong Rinpoche's Lamrim teachings and wrote down specific notes, which became this book. He wrote, that's from his notes, you know. Imagine if we can write a book from our notes. It'd be about 2 pages thick. Think. And then on top of that, if we involve ourselves in it from a pure motivation, not monetary, not reputational, but from a pure motivation, and then we push ourselves to do it, and we promote it, the impact we have is incredible. It will be more effective at this point, all right? Listen carefully. It will be more effective at this point than just mantras, sadhanas, prostrations, retreats. Why? It is direct effect into people's minds. That's why writers and writings and the writing department is very, very sacred. If you read Trungpa's book, I have it. Shambhala Publications, the person in charge of Shambhala met Trungpa by accident, you know, and then Shambhala, later they met, and after they met, the head of Shambhala 30 years ago became Trungpa's student, Chogyam Trungpa's student, and from then on, he was committed to spread Trungpa's teachings throughout the world. And even now, after 20 years of Trungpa's death, he is still in charge of Shambhala Publications, and he publicates other books, but mainly Trungpa's works. Again and again and again. You read, you check out the website. Shambhala came from Chogyam Trungpa's student, who was committed to spreading the Dharma. Same as Lama Yeshe. Lama Yeshe had a student who was a druggie, who didn't do much, who didn't know much, was a hippie in the 70s, who met Lama Yeshe. His name is Nick Rinpoche. He came to Malaysia. He's Irene's friend, in fact. He came to Malaysia to raise funds. Why? He's in charge of all of Lama Yeshe's archives, all the teachings that Lama Yeshe gave in transcript form. In fact, the Hiruka Vajrasattva, most of Lama Yeshe's books is transcript. It is transcript form, very lightly edited. Why? That style is very appealing for many people today. And so Nick Rinpoche is in charge of editing, cataloging, and preserving Lama Yeshe's teaching. You know who put him in charge? He himself, because he thought that would be the best way to preserve Buddha's teachings and his guru's works into the world. For the last 25, 30 years, Nick Rinpoche has been in charge of Lama Yeshe's archives and getting all of Lama Yeshe's books out into the world, all over the world, in every bookstore. Why? One person dedicated himself. Writing is so sacred. Writing is Dharma work. Please don't profane it by being late, by not hitting the deadline, by making people chase you, by making it cheap, by having grammar errors, by not caring, by hoping that someone else will check your work for you. Dharma work is sacred. Do you know why? The only way we can spread Dharma is through words. And that will be the best practice for writers. Writers, in fact, can do a meditation every day to visualize Lama Tsongkhapa and to recite Omara Bazanadi and to ask for inspiration and blessing that the writings come perfectly and it flows. Visual Dharma, CD Dharma, written Dharma, and writing. If you do this, you will change the lives of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, not just in this generation, all future generations. Do not think your work is just nothing. That's why I take special attention to the writer's requests. When the writers tell me they want at this time, I go to their time. Whether I'm sick or I'm not sick, I will bend myself over for the writers. Why? Writers spread the Dharma. So even Dharma teachers will show respect to writers. You don't understand the depth of all of this if you know the Dharma. So when writers want to write, the Lamas accommodate them. Why? They don't think about the writers. They think about all the people that the writers will touch through their writing. So the Lama has great compassion for all the people that they will touch, and therefore the Lama will accommodate the writers, give them a salary if they want, talk to them, provide a nice place for them, whatever they want. Why? In hopes that slowly the writers themselves transform into Dharma practitioners. They realize what's going on. And through them writing, they have to read and listen and understand the Dharma to write, so they transform. At the same time, their writings hit thousands of people outside. So the Lama themselves will accommodate the writers, will be very kind to the writers, and through sickness, through health, through difficulties, will do their best not to change the schedule, cancel, or do anything out of deep respect for the thousands of people that the writers will touch. So the Lamas have a very special respect for writers. Why? This is the best way to convey the Dharma to the world. So it's all so connected. It's all so holy and so sacred. So the writers must have a sacred attitude. The Lamas must have a sacred motivation to give information to the writers. And the sponsors must be very generous and open and pray in giving this work out. And then the people who work on an administrative level must be very supportive and must be very helpful. And the writers themselves must be very committed. When you commit and you get things on time and you do it from a good motivation, I promise you, you will see your mind transform. And it will spill into other parts of your life. Why? How can Dharma practice not change your lives? And isn't writing Dharma practice? Why is it Dharma practice? You need to sit here for hours listening to it. And then you need to go home thinking about it for hours how to write it. You don't think that's Dharma practice? That is meditation in action. Writers are doing meditation action. It is a very sacred object. And therefore, people who are like Pat, events promoters, people in the future who promote the Dharma through whatever events, special dinners, special concerts, events, and promote the Dharma and let people know about Dharma, lamas or whatever. When they promote, they have a sacred job of advertising the Dharma to thousands of people. We're not here by coincidence. We're all here by our prayers. We have a purpose in life, and we all met to do something together. So one of us may be the teacher, one of us may be the writer, one may be the torturer of the Lama. There's all types of people. We're all here for a reason. We all here connected for a reason. Some of us have money, some of us have skills, some of us knows business, some of us know how to talk, some of us know how to sell, some of us know how to take pictures, some of us can do websites. Some of us even can run to the hawker place and bring us food. We all have a purpose, and the purpose is to bring Dharma to many other people. So our motivation must be correct. It isn't just, I'll write a Dharma book and let me give it on time so those KMP people don't scream at me. And then where's my check? Thank you. No. If you make it that cheap, it will be that cheap. If you make it sacred, it will be sacred. Why? It is inherently sacred. So when even your Lama tells you to write, you should immediately get up, make 3 prostrations, offer a kata, a many offerings, say, Lama Rinpoche, thank you so much for picking me out to write, to see my ability and see my potential. Because the Lama Rinpoche is giving you the very key to enlightenment. So when you resist Lama Rinpoche, when you say, I cannot, or you don't do, or you make excuses not to do it, you push your own enlightenment away. You push the benefit of thousands of people's away. And it shows your own stupidity, your lack of appreciation, and your lack of wisdom. Because to you, you think it's just simply writing and getting an article out. And guess what? I'm in the newspapers and boo, 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 bee, bee, boo. No. And then you know what? After you get your paycheck and you hang out in Langkawi somewhere, with 1/3 meter of cloth and jumping up and down in the waves and thinking, well, I did my job. I'm a writer and I got paid and I'm having a good time. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Why? It can be that and much more. Why can it be much more? I will benefit other beings. I will help beings. I will write in such a way because every single writer is good and bad. Why? The people who you will touch, they say it's good. The people you don't touch will say it's bad. It doesn't matter. There are people who think Lamrim is boring and dry. So what? That doesn't make Papagon and Trijanamji stupid. It just makes it that we have to reinvent the Lamrim another way to help them because they have different levels. There are many people who say Lamrim is sucky. They hate it. It's boring. Does that mean Trijanamji, the writer, is stupid? Oh, please. If Trijanamji can be criticized about his Lamrim, forget it. You can be criticized too. You can be criticized. So, when we write and we support writers and we support this department and we get these writings out, so now we can do buntings. Now we can do billboards. Just think, okay, I'm sorry to use this. Let's say there's a billboard of Tsem Rinpoche. There's a big billboard somewhere in Bukit Bintang. $200,000 a year. Thank you very much. I have an ulterior motive, but never mind. Pretend I'm a Buddha. Think of a big, huge billboard in Bukit Bintang, Tsem Rinpoche. And it just says, oh, Zambala Mystical Treasures. Oh, KMT Mystical Treasures. Oh, Kechara Mystical Treasures. The book that changed my life. And then you just have that all over. Isn't that better than Giordano? Think about it. Imagine someone sponsored that. Imagine someone sponsored a billboard. Someone committed to the Lama and actually sponsored that and really advertised the Lama and did it all the way and not thought about their selfish, oh, I'll do it when I get this amount of money. I'll do it when I do this. I'll do this when I finish this. And they just constantly make promises and break it. What's the point? Imagine advertising a billboard and putting the Lama up there and everybody sees this book. Imagine. And then even if 10 people get this book, 10 people became enlightened. That's 10 Buddhas to be that you did. Isn't that worth 200,000? I think it is. I think it is. You can even have a billboard up there in Bukit Bintang. Have several of our students and friends. Have one of Andy sitting there like, we can have Mr. Questions there. Have a few people that have little captions, this book is fabulous. He can write, oh, you've got to get this book. Or we can do it, you don't have to buy this book from me, but you've got to buy the book from Joanne Tan. A caption with this book there, and it's a billboard out on Bukit Bintang. How many people see it? Don't you think that's better than Esprit? Why don't you be the United Colors of Enlightenment? Thank you. We can be our own Esprit. You ever think about sponsoring a billboard like that? Nobody thinks about all that. Everything is Dharma if you want it to be Dharma. Everything. Everything is Dharma. The Lama's mind will focus using ordinary methods to bring enlightenment to others. The Lama's mind will be always focused on that. If we cooperate and listen and follow through, we may not immediately understand, but in the long term, we'll look back and say, oh, now I understand the jigsaw puzzle. If we question and we think our wisdom is more superior than the Lama, it cannot be, because no wisdom can be more superior than Dharma wisdom. No wisdom. So buntings, CDs, advertisements, commercials, things inside newspapers, billboards, sponsor it, do it, advertise, get it out there. Why? What are you getting out there? Not your Lama. Enlightenment. Enlightenment, 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 enlightenment. Use commercialism for enlightenment. Use marketing for enlightenment. Use samsara, marketing, commercialism for enlightenment. Why? That's what appeals to people. And don't have your Lama sitting in some cave in some forest, unkept, unshaved, gross, and disgusting. Have him in a tuxedo. Have him in a suit. Have him wearing something sexy or something obnoxious. Why? That's what people today accept. They're going to take one thing and see your Lama in a cave and say, see you later, I'm not into Milarepa here. Do it the way they like. Why? The motivation is to bring them to enlightenment. Get their websites out perfectly. Don't turn on the website, this works, this doesn't work. No. Get it out on the billboards, all over the city, all over the place. Spread enlightenment all over the place. Let it be mainstream. Let people know that this is mainstream, this is fine, this is all right. The Dalai Lama was so kind. The Dalai Lama advertised for Apple Computer. Do you know they had him on a New York billboard, black and white, huge, in New York, Manhattan. And he sat there with no Zen. This is called a Zen, the rat, all right? He just had his shirt on, and he stood there like this, and he smiled, and there was an Apple Computer next to him, and they just wrote, think different, Apple. Yeah, the Dalai Lama did that. He got a lot of slack from that, because like the Buddhist Pope doing an Apple commercial. No, the money he got, he donated away immediately. Even the Dalai Lama is on a billboard for Apple Computer. I'm like, hello, can I be the next model? Mwah. In New York City, you can check that out on the website. I saw it. His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the billboard. Can you believe it? His Holiness is on a billboard? Why can His Eminence not be on a billboard? Me, billboard. Okay, his motivation is a little different than mine. Never mind. I can pretend what? Oh, didn't work. Why not? The Dalai Lama was an Apple billboard in New York City. His Holiness, Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin. So why can't the schmuck from Los Angeles be on the billboard? Thank you. And a lot of airbrushing, please, a lot. You're going to need a tornado brushing to make my skin look great on the billboard because it's going to be magnified. Can you see it? They say, what is that, the moon? No, it's Tsem Rinpoche's skin. Kiss my grits, Suzanne. She's evil, look at her. May all your pimples never pop. Yeah, why not? So writers have a very sacred mission. And today we're very lucky because we have so many mediums to bring the Dharma out to the people. What are we sitting around for? We should use our skills. If we can do 100%, do it. If not 50, if not 40, if not 10. Don't sit there and say, if I have this condition, I'll do the Dharma. If I have that condition, then I'll do it. If I have this much, I'll do it. If I accomplish this, I'll do it. Stop making conditions on when you'll do the Dharma. Just do it. Just do it. Don't make any more conditions, because all the conditions you made to do Dharma hasn't worked till now. Up till now, you've made all these conditions. When I get this, when I do this and do this. What happens if your endeavor fails? Then you don't do the Dharma? How silly. Don't make conditions on when you do the Dharma. Just do it now, at any level. Whether it's attend Manjushri class, as never miss it, or you donate millions of dollars. Up to you. Just start now. So what happens is, when our motivation is to bring the Dharma to others, everything in our life is to bring benefit to others. Anything. Even shouting brings benefit. Why? It's our motivation. And when we train ourselves that way, it's benefit. It's benefit. What is Dharma? Dharma is not whether you're holy or not holy. Dharma is your motivation. You can eat a muffin and you can be holy. You can have sex with somebody and you can be holy if your motivation is to help them. You can do anything to another if your motivation is good. It is not the action. It is the motivation. I read that in Lama Yeshe's book yesterday, Hiruka Vajrasattva, from the Hinayana text on the Vinaya vows. That's not Tibetan, all right? This is on Theravada, which is Thai style. On the Hinayana Vinaya vows, it is said it is not the object and is not the action that disrobes a monk. It is his motivation. It is his motivation. So that means a monk can even lie, steal, have sex, and talk about his attainments and not break his vows. Because the 4 root vows is stealing, completing, motivation, stealing, completing, and finish. The 4 root vows of a monk, not the auxiliary. And not lying about his attainments, not talking about attainments he does not have. And lying, all right, lying about attainments. And, sexual intercourse, which involves actual sexual intercourse, which involves penetration of any of the 3 doors, completion and the happiness to do it, without any other motivation. When those vows are broken, and the intent is there, and the rejoicement is there, the vows are broken. Any other way, if there's any other reason or any other purpose, then the vows are not broken. It says that in the Vinaya vows of the Hinayana tradition, not even made up by Tibetans. And that is international. That is international. So the 4 root vows of a monk is broken only by motivation, not action and not object. Not action and not object. Example, there was a nun during Buddha's time who was severely raped. And when she sat in the front row with the other nuns and monks, the other monks said she's disrobed because she was penetrated, so get out. The Buddha asked her a simple question. Did you want it? She said no. Did you enjoy it? No. After when you finish, how did you feel? She says, I was not happy. Then you are not disrobed. Please remain. The end. Very simple. It is not the object, it's not the action, it's the motivation. So like that, if it's like that in the Vinaya vows, that the action or the motivation is the most important, it is the same for every aspect of Dharma. So this department of Kachara Media and Publications, if we have the honor to be the director, or to be a liaison, or to be in charge, or to be involved, or to be working for, or to sponsor, or to be in any way involved, we should think of it as a life dedication, as an opportunity of a lifetime to spread the Dharma, the easiest way. And even if we don't know a lot of Dharma, we have people around us that can teach us Dharma that we can write. Because if we have the skill of writing, imagine with the skill of a pen, okay, never mind, these days with a keypad, with the skill of a keypad, we can change people's lives. And that is combined with a good motivation and doing our sadhanas and practice. Do you know how many lives you can change? Do you know how many people can read your book and they were sad and they were unhappy, or they wanted to kill themselves, and they read your book and you change their lives? Imagine that. Someone can read your book and not want to kill themselves. Someone can read your book and be kind to their mother. Someone can read your book and stop arguing. Imagine the difference you can make, and imagine the places the book can get to. And if you combine that with prayers, good motivation, and listening, and with pure aspirations. And after you finish the book or the writing or the article, and you dedicate it in the name of Lama Tsongkhapa Manjushri, and you send it out in NMC, on the website, or in bookstores, whatever, and people read it, and do you know the impact it'll have? It isn't just the words, it's your blessings by your prayers. You can change people's lives. Not alter, change. And you can change people's destiny through writing. Isn't that what life's about? Isn't life about bringing benefit to others? If we don't think about bringing benefit to others, what are we living for? If people have to chase us for a deadline, if we have to argue back and forth about money, if we don't want to do prayers, and we do cheapskate little writings, and then we run around pompously like a peacock telling people, I want to benefit people. It will benefit, but the benefit will be very little. Don't you want your efforts to be even more beneficial? Imagine one little book of ours. Someone can write in or say something and say, it changed my life. Just think about that. One billboard up there, they see it and they go and buy the book and they read it, they go, oh. Yeah, you have 100 people saying, oh God, that model's ugly, that lama's ugly, the billboard's stupid, whatever. Then you have 1,000 people say, it changed my life. How can that work be not sacred? What is the purpose of our life? To eat, to sleep, to copulate, and to work, and just get old and die? No, the purpose of our life is to bring benefit to others. Not temporary benefit, ultimate benefit. Ultimate. That they don't have to take suffering and create more suffering, and they suffer more, and they suffer more, and they suffer more, and to helplessly watch them suffer out of blind ignorance and not do anything about it, and to enjoy your life and just sit there callously, coldly, and evil just to watch other people suffer and know you can do something and not put effort toward doing it. And then like robots go through the motions of reciting mantras and talk about religion and go to churches and temples. That's the most evil people on the earth. People who can do something and not do it. And we can do it. We can do it. Out of great compassion for others, out of great compassion that I can do something. Tremendous compassion. The compassion that says, I can make a difference in someone's suffering. Isn't that worth to live for? I find that worthwhile to live for. What other reasons is there to live? Why? So it's all related to Dharma, whatever we do. Compassion is the key. Compassion is the method. Compassion is the result. Compassion is the goal. Compassion is the elixir. Compassion is the reason for living. Compassion is the only word that has any meaning in the English language. Compassion. Compassion without motive. Compassion, compassionately motivated. Out of compassion, for compassion. Compassionately. And that's why we should do any type of Dharma work. So writing Dharma is extremely sacred. And everything involved with writing Dharma, everything involved with this department, everything in promoting the Dharma, everything in doing things that bring promotion to Dharma is the most sacred work. And if we have the karma to be involved in that, we have made many aspirational prayers in previous lives that we can be a benefit to Dharma, and it'll be big. Think about all that. Think about all of that. All of that comes from my understanding of Dharma and what I've heard from my teachers and the little bit of understanding that I have. All of that comes from that. So therefore, for me, this department is very sacred. For me, this department is very holy, and everything having to do with it is very profound. And if I can convey the profundity of this department to all of you, and you guys can realize it, and it can spread to others, it is my hopes that you will be responsible, take responsibility, and not think of it as it's Kichara Media and Publications and me, but to say, I am part of Kichara Media and Publications. Why Kichara? To go to Kichara Paradise by media and publications. To reach that level, to bring people to that level. Not to think that I'm away from it or not a part of it, but to be a part of it. to have the merit and the intelligence and the motivation to be a part of it. That's very, very, very important. So, and if we're not part of Kichara Media and Publications, we can be a part of another department in the center. And what's that about? To find innovative and fabulous ways to bring benefit to others. Innovative. Based on what? Based on the teachings we hear from our Lama, in our case, me, and the books that we read to support it, and the practices we do every day, and the meditations, contemplations we do, whether it's in sitting, or we're dry, or we're in the office, or we're just taking a break, contemplative. To think about the benefits of Dharma and the benefits we can bring others, and the transformation of our mind. It's very sacred. Very, very sacred. Imagine the honor and the gift and the ability to change someone's mind from that of ignorance and darkness and sadness and self-deprecation and low self-esteem to someone that has esteem, purpose, love, giving, and compassion. Imagine the honor of introducing those thoughts to people. Then no obstacle can be big enough for you to stop. No obstacle can be big enough to stop you to achieve that. You're sick, you're sick. You're happy, you're happy. You're poor, you're poor. You're rich, you're rich. No obstacle will be big enough to stop you from achieving that aim. Because the sheer joy of bringing others out of suffering or giving them the knowledge, nothing can reward you in this world. Nothing. Nothing in this world can reward you. Nothing. And if you don't believe in next life, believe in this life. The joy you receive when someone tells you, thank you, you've changed my life. You've saved my life. Forget about next life. This life is enough already for me. Have good motivation to do Dharma. Have good motivation to practice Dharma. Have good motivation to listen to Dharma. Have good motivation to practice, listen, and to spread Dharma. It's very important. We have a very sacred job to transform ourselves, and through the transformation of ourselves, we can transform others. Transform not a hypocritical, arrogant, look down on transformation. I'm high, you're not. No, a humble connection to that interdependency of the other person with ourselves, and then that I was there and I had this kind of thinking and suffering and it's not right. And I want to share with you what I've learned so that you don't have to experience as much as I've experienced. This sense of interdependency and this sense of responsibility. And that would be Dharma practice. To have responsibility for another person on the basis of interdependency with all sentient beings. Isn't that a wonderful way to live? Isn't that a wonderful way to exist? Isn't that a wonderful way, a wonderful mode of thinking daily from the time you get up to the time you go to sleep? That's what Dharma practice is all about. So there's no time to delay. There's no time to make up games. There's no time to, no, I don't have enough self-esteem. I don't have enough knowledge. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. But when this happens, when that happens, no. Every time you delay, every time you make an excuse, every time you give something lame or you say something and you fail, every time someone out there could have been helped that you didn't because of your response. And that's the urgency and doing the work fast. That's the urgency. So if there's 100 people out there in the middle of the ocean drowning and we've got a lifeboat and we couldn't wake up on time, or we weren't paid enough to get on the lifeboat, or we were having sex with our girlfriend or our boyfriend and we couldn't finish that, or our mother yelled at us so we're in a bad mood, or we got fired from our job, or we were sick but we're not immobile, and then we use these excuses not to get on that lifeboat to paddle to the middle of the ocean to rescue these people, we are not even human. Sentient beings are likened to beings drowning in the ocean, and the lifeboat is our knowledge and our effort and our Dharma. And all the excuses we make, oh, if we have a girlfriend, we'll do this. Oh, if I have a girlfriend, then I'll paddle the lifeboat out to the middle of the ocean and rescue these people. If I get this amount of money, if you pay me enough, I'll paddle out there. If you pay me enough, I will paddle out there. And until I sign the contract that you're going to pay me this, then I won't paddle out there. Or, they can drown on Friday and Saturday and Sundays, but on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'll paddle out there and help them. Or, I'm not feeling too well, I have a flu. Hey, you have a flu, they're drowning. They are drowning out there. Well, let me make my money first. And, once I make my money, I get this amount of money, then I will sponsor your boat. So you can go out there. I don't need you to sponsor it. I already have a little boat, but I'll give you a bigger boat. Never mind about a bigger boat. Why don't we just use a little boat and go back and forth and rescue them? I don't want to wait till you get a bigger boat, because by the time you get a bigger boat, they might have drowned. And people use all kinds of lame excuses and lame, tired, over plastic, superficial excuses that are actually a cover for the self-cherishing mind, the selfish mind of not wanting to make an effort for another without getting something back, not to go out in this boat and to rescue someone else. Oh, I'm too angry to rescue them. I'm not happy right now because someone screamed at me because they gave me a black face. So I'm not happy. I'm not going to go out there. We use all types of excuses. And every time we use an excuse, every time we listen to our excuses and we follow it, someone drowns. Why would we want that to happen? Aren't we spiritual? Aren't we Buddhists? Don't we, when we go out there, don't we want to tell them, I've learned my lesson? Yeah, we do. I mean, finally, after 3 aeons of helping sentient beings, bloop, 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 takes them back to Buddhahood. Imagine 3 aeons later, they saw your crop circle. Wouldn't that be fabulous? And that's what life's all about. No more procrastinations. No procrastinations. No more lame excuses. No more because my girlfriend screamed at me, I'm in a bad mood, I don't want to paddle out there and help someone. No more, if you don't pay me enough, I won't go out there. No more, oh wow, sorry I was late, the LRT took me to the pier late. Ridiculous. Well, I'm sorry 10 people drowned because I was stuck in a traffic jam. All lame excuses. Well, then leave earlier. And then all sentient beings have to drown in the ocean of samsara because you didn't get your boyfriend, you didn't get your girlfriend, or your boyfriend threw you out, your girlfriend kicked you. Don't be ridiculous. Our sense of propriety must push us to be more, propel us to be more. Like I said, you don't believe in your next life? Never mind. I don't blame you. None of you have the third eye. Okay, you have 4 eyes, but that doesn't count. But believe in this life. Even if you're blind, you can believe in this life. No eyes. If you change people's lives, you have the biggest and the deepest and the most happiest satisfaction. A satisfaction that cannot be replaced with anything. Believe in this life. Promote the Dharma. Listen to the Dharma. Understand the Dharma. Talk the Dharma. Practice the Dharma. Work for the Dharma. Spread the Dharma. Be devoted to the Dharma. Why? What is Dharma? Happiness. That's it. Just let's translate the word. Dharma is happiness. Spread it correctly. Don't twist your own little cultish view of what Dharma is and start your own little temple next door. That's what it's all about. Think about it. So Dharma books convey that message. Dharma books convey that thought. And Dharma books are very sacred. Therefore, we keep them in a sacred place. Therefore, before we read them, we touch into our foreheads. Therefore, we put them in a sacred area. Therefore, we are clean. We're clean to create awareness of something sacred. Why? The purpose of all this is awareness. Whether your hand is clean or not, you touch a Dharma book, nothing happens in the Dharma book. Something happens to you, you create awareness. And then the awareness grows to the point of enlightenment. You got to start somewhere. So think about that. That's very, very sacred. Very, very sacred. All right? Okay, we finished scripture holders, we finished Dharma books, we finished singing bowls, and it's all his fault. He kept asking me questions so I can teach more. It's all his fault. Oh, and it's all her fault too, because she kept waving those tired little talons at me. Excuse me. His claws and her talons. Excuse me. Don't they look like talons? Yes. And you ain't no Garuda. You're just a chicken. It's 12:30, kids. They had this little thing in America. It's 12 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? That's a question you don't ask Paris's parents on weekends. With Paris's parents, what you ask is, it's 6 a.m. Do you know where your daughter is? Yes, she just crawled into the door. She's a little drunk, and she's not wearing her top again, but never mind, she's home. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, she likes that. See, the only time you elicit any kind of response with Paris is when you talk about samsara, when you talk about nirvana. She's kind of a little itchy and thirsty and a little restless. but that will change. Stick around.